Good morning, everyone. My name is Alex Hamilton, and I manage the sales for the US here and for Axle. I'm joined by my colleagues, Neil Blake, Katie Scott, and Patrice Gutabel. We're going to give this another minute and let people join. We're running, but we're excited to talk a little bit about working remotely with Axle and Connectr today. So give us a second here and we'll get going. All right. Well, why don't we start in the interest of keeping this concise and tight. What we'd like to talk today about is how to cope with the problems we're all facing in this pandemic situation where we can't get into the office. We're cooped up in our homes, we're cooped up in our apartments. Our master files either have to sit with us personally or they have to sit in the office, and accessing them becomes a problem. So we've been working to address this both on the Axle side and the Connectr side. Just quickly about Axle. I think everybody knows who we are at this point. What Axle is all about is making it radically simple to both tag and find the media clips that you need to do your work. And now what we're really focused on is adding remote access to that. Obviously, we're building out other features as well, but at the moment, this is the most pressing issue for everyone. So what are we? We are a simple media management tool. We catalog your files automatically in the background without requiring any intervention on your part. Basically, bring your files to the server, and Axle does the rest, giving you then a nice menu to create custom metadata fields and search terms that are most valid or most useful for your work and your projects and your clients. We can support just about any file type, and we have the ability, not just graphics, but still images, video still images and audio files as well. And again, we're not interested in creating additional applications. Everything is accessed through a browser. So whether you like Chrome, Firefox, even Microsoft Edge, we're totally compatible. One of the ways we're doing this, facilitating remote workflows, is what we're calling the reverse proxy service. And what this essentially does is it creates an external access point to the Axle system you already have. And what this does is it enables you to log into the external access point, and then the access point manages in a secure manner the access to the files to the Axle server that's sitting locally in your office or wherever. Connectr. This is our rules-based engine for automating repetitive workflows. And this is what we're trying to do is take the programming out or minimize the programming required to build these automated workflows to address things like copying, transcoding into multiple formats, uploading, archiving, a lot of the tasks that add time, but unfortunately don't add value, at least in your customer's point of view, and you can't really build for a lot of these things. So it's a very time-consuming and yet unprofitable thing that every firm has to deal with. Um, rules are very flexible. They can be triggered by events such as a database update in Axle or elsewhere. They can be triggered by an email. They can be triggered by a number of things, files just touching, hitting a particular folder and whatnot. So it's really, really flexible and very, very configurable. One workflow can trigger a second. So the outcome, a positive outcome on the first one will trigger the second and third and so on. Very nice. It runs on both a Mac or a Linux platform. So there's some flexibility there as to which hardware that you need to use or it can use to run it. And we're trying to engage more and more partners to build essentially integrations with it, such as we have with ArchiWare would be a perfect example of automating the archiving process, things like that. So to build in functionality for, or increase the functionality of the product to you. The bottom line is that we're really helping you, maintain control of your media and leverage that media effectively, even when you can't be in the office to be right on the local network. So, and Connectr is really just a way of speeding up the process to make you more efficient. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Patrice Gutebel, the Vice President of Product Development, and he will give us a bit of a run through on the application. Stop sharing. There we go.
Thank you very much, Alex, and welcome everybody. We are excited to have you here. So starting to share my screen. So yes, we have focused a lot on remote access. This is the new reality. We are anticipating for the rest of the year, it's still going to be a slow comeback to normal in terms of people back in the office or the states reopening. So how do we address that? Because on one hand, you have your media in the office, and on the other hand, you really cannot really fully access it securely in terms of your health. So Axle has a web interface. So this is something we have done primarily so you do not need to maintain multiple softwares or client softwares. Every upgrade is done on the server and you have an upgrade automatically. It also makes Axle accessible from any kind of phone or tablet who has a web browser. So there's not much that you need to do to get Axle to work remotely. In fact, we set up a reverse proxying for our calling name. If I were to access email.axle.ai, I'm connecting directly to Neil's system in London, and it did not open his system. It did not open his firewall. Basically, his system is still secure behind his firewall. It's simply an in-between proxy server that is going to serve the information. So nothing has changed. Same setup, same storage, no need to upload, but you have direct access from the web browser. For the rest of the demo, I'm just going to continue to work on my local system. So the first thing you see will be the login page, and once you log in, you will access the folders that you are authorized to see. You can have more than one top-level folder that will be monitored. Now, what makes Axle different from the rest of the media asset management solutions that you will find out there? Well, we don't change the way you work. So not only can you access your storage remotely, but you will still keep the same folder structure that you already have. And this is an added bonus. Other systems, they will force you to check in the files and they will take ownership. Think of it like, iTunes. At the time we were using iTunes and downloading the movies or downloading the music, you do not necessarily know where they are, but they are there. So this is the similar concept where we alleviate this problem and you still keep your folder structure intact. On the left side, you have the folder tree. You will see the content area, and you have the search bar. So I can find my media very quickly by performing a search. And you will see that I found 3 clips here. I can scrub through the thumbnail, and I can click on them, and I will bring in the video player. Now on the right side, I will have metadata. This can be user-generated tags. So this is a schema that I created specifically for my needs. So each user can have their own metadata schema. And you can have different types such as radio button, text field, multiple select buttons, drop-down menu, date, checkbox. So you have different fields that you can create, and all this information will then become searchable. Now that is kind of a boring way to tag your media. We also bring in the AI tool. So not only can you access your media remotely, what you will also be able to do is know who appears in the video and when, what appears in the video, or what is being said. So by leveraging different AI tools that exist, you can see, for example, where Benedict Cumberbatch appear in my clip. So I can go here, and you will see in the blue area here where he appears. So I can scrub through the video player. I can post my comments as well in the timeline. Briefly going back in the comment tab here, you will see that I have comments associated. These become searchable and they are associated to the timeline. Moving back to the AI, so I have facial recognition where I know who appears and when. Keywords, so a little bit boring in this case, but for example, you will see the monitor here on the screen where we click and
or this guy
appear right here. And really the killer would be the transcript. I will know what is being said. So I can search exactly on what is being said as well. So I can say, find me clips of, for example, Barack Obama when he talked about the recession. And I will find exactly what, when, and the different clips. So very useful tool. And I can do all of that from home. I can also edit right here, my transcript. It will follow on the right side, as you can see. And whenever I'm done, I can export a transcript to either a text format for somebody to review or a subclip, sorry, not subclip, a subtitle file format. So this was a brief overview of Axel. Now let me show you what we have done, and I'm actually proud of our coders for coming with something so quickly, developing something so quickly. We have done a couple of things here to help with the remote access. Going to the administrator pages, you will see that you can handle who has access to what. So this is part of the standard bit of Axel, but you have the possibility to download the files, including the high res. So you can bring in the high res, but it may be too time consuming and too much bandwidth. So going to the advanced sections right here, this is a new feature in Axel 2020. You have the possibility to create editing proxies. Now in the past, Axel would have the possibility to download a proxy, but that will be the browse copy, and the browse copy on HTML on a website would be stereo only. You cannot have all the audio tracks, which is not ideal for editing. So you have a small video bitrate, but you still cannot edit because you're missing audio elements. So what we are doing is creating a mezzanine file that will have audio pass-through, which means that the audio codec does not change. You have all the audio tracks, all the channels, everything intact based on the source clip, and you can edit. The difference will be the video will be H.264 at 720p and 2 megabits per second. So low bitrate, same audio quality, but you can edit. So by downloading the proxy, I will download an MOV file and not the MP4 that you have. And that will be the, if I look at the quality, you have 2 megabits per second, 720p, and audio pass-through. In this case, it was a stereo. Now, what is the practical aspect that I will have here in having that? Well, first, you will have all your clips locally in your house where you can edit. But second, let's say that you have access to a VPN. You can then use Premiere to tag into to import the high res, but edit from the low res proxies. For those of you who do not know, let me log out here. We do have a Premiere panel which will allow you to access the system remotely again And let's say I will be able to perform searches. Excuse me. Let's retype the password. Third time is a charm. Here we go. So I would be able to still browse, search, and do everything I would need. So if I search for Benedict again, I will find the different clips that are going to show up, and I will be able to bring them over. There we go. With a typo, it's better. So I can then bring the clip, which is going to bring me the high-res. So I would need the VPN access and the possibility to mount the storage. For the purpose of this demo, I'm going to work off another clip where I have created the mezzanine file, which will be this clip. I downloaded this file in my download folder right now. So drag and drop the file, bring the high-res. With Premiere, you can toggle the proxy. So how am I going to bring the proxy over? Simply attach a proxy file to your high-res. And I will look for one, so it is in my downloads. And the name is, so that would be able to find it. No, it's actually, there we go. This is my lowest proxy. Now attaching it, now it will be probably fun to see, but you can maybe see or not the change in colors when I toggle from the high-res to the low-res. But basically now I can edit from the lowest proxy, but whenever I render, Premiere is going to remember and have the high-res. So again, you need to enable in your preferences of Premiere, you need to enable the proxy. And then for each clip that you import with the high-res, you can attach a proxy. Other option would be to simply bring it over the lowest proxy, but then in the end, I will have to relink everything. And I see that we have a couple of questions. So I'm just going to take a minute to pause and review them. It looks like Alex was on top of it. Thank you, Alex. So this is the implementation with editing proxy with Premiere. No, it's great. Let's think that you already have Axel for a while, and you have already, many thousands of files that you have processed, or you do not want to spend time creating the lowest proxies for archives that you have 10 years ago. You want to focus only on something specific. I think it will be the good moment to jump into Connectr, our workflow automation tool. And why can Connectr be helpful to you in this moment? Well, first of all, while everybody is remote and you do not have the full staff in the office, the tasks still need to be performed. So it may be a good thing to have to automate all of that. And how Connectr works? Well, you have the graphic area here, the logs on the left side, and let me just minimize this. On the right side, you have the different settings for the project, such as the variables I can create, finding units, changing the layout, and monitoring the performance. So there are two ways I can bring units. I can right-click and go by all the categories. So in this example, I'm just going to do, let's bring a button to trigger an action. Now this is just for demo. Typically you will have it go on loop, or you will have it scheduled or trigger based on the specific rule or action. And I'm just going to do a print string. It's just to play and give you the idea, because we are not going to spend too much time watching me build stuff. And now this is how you build a workflow. I'm bringing from one trigger to the other, and that's the flow of my work. So when I click, I'm going to print something, not an array. I wanted to print string, actually. Pretty much easier. And here we are. Notice that for each action, for each unit, you will always have a success or failure. So you can do something upon failure, such as send an email notification, or a text, or reperform it, retry, or so you can always have an action. And on the left or right side, you will have the ports, which will be values you can pass along. So for example, I can create a new variable, and it can go from another unit. It does not have to be variable. So let's just say string, and just say hello world. I'm just going to grab now this value. So again, when other units, they will have on the right side the output and the ports. You can also pass it on to do not need to create variables. I'm just going to run my project, hit trigger, and here we go, hello world. Now let's actually look at something a little bit more advanced. And for example, I'm going to take a copy here. Again, you can schedule it, you can have it in a loop. I'm using a button to trigger the work whenever I want. So here is the button, and we have a watch folder. Notice that I can again pass it on here, the information. So whatever I find in the content, I'm just bringing the file. Whatever I find, I go through the array iterator, which is a great tool to go through each value individually. So when you do a watch folder, you have multiple files, multiple values. I have to treat each of them individually. And I'm just going to do a checksum on each file. And then I do a copy and I check the result. This is where if the checksum result is false, you will do something else. In this case, we are just keeping it just for the sake of this demo. So here I am. Let's review quickly where things are. So I'm going to my connector folder in a folder called watch folder. So desktop, it's organized by name. Connector, I have watch folder. I'm just going to delete the skips here so we can start fresh. And the copy is going to happen, dragging it over to a Dropbox folder. So I'm going to basically copy over to Dropbox and will upload automatically my Dropbox. So let's look for some videos here. We go to the movies, and I'm just going to take this clip here. 4 megabits will not be too long. And basically the watch folder. Sharing the logs. Run the project, trigger. Run the project area, trigger. And here we go. The file copy has happened. If I check Dropbox, it will update, and here it is. Now you have other delivery methods such as upload to Vimeo, upload to YouTube, FTP upload. We have also upload to cloud, Azure, Azure and Amazon. So you basically can do a lot. But let me showcase other features that you have. Because you can also render videos with Connectr. And with Connectr 2020, we can do a couple of things. One is more actions within Axel. And one thing I would like to confirm is that you do not need Axel to run Connectr, nor you need Connectr to run Axel. There are two independent tools that can talk to each other. And so we have transcoding capability with Connectr. And I'm going to bring it from a Connectr 2020. We have a new example called create edited proxies. And that showcases a lot of different things. First off, we have added the possibility with some UI elements to Connectr. That will allow you to change different things, such as I want 480p, not 720p, and I want maybe let's do 1 megabit per second. So you have slider that you can change. You have different options, different things I can bring over. And I can also update directly the different paths that I have. If I were to go back again to my watch folder here, and I'm going to click this file, let me do the output. So I'm going to take the watch folder, and a quick tip, connector, you can drag and drop things or in the right side to resolve the path, so you don't even need to copy. Now my watch folder is set, and then we're going to do the same thing with the output folder. And here we are. So what is workflow doing? So now I'm showing you how you can edit, but what is the goal of this work? Well, I'm going to go through the folder structure, and I output both files and folders. You know, I make it recursive, and I'm going through every folder. And we're going to go through each element where I'm going to set the variables depending on the height I have set and the bit rate. And I'm going to use FFmpeg to make a render. FFmpeg comes with Connectr as well as FFmpeg. And then I'm going to recreate the folder structure. So the folder structure I'm watching, I want to recreate it. That will make it easier for my team of editors to relate later on if need be, or to find the proxies to attach to the high-res if I am in Premiere. And I transcode. Quick bonus is I'm using the slider for the progress bar. So it's going to go relatively fast because it's a 4 megabyte file. So I'm just going to bring in another movie so we could see into this. Let's take this clip here. And I'm going back to my desktop. Connector, folder. Now notice that here I do not have a button to trigger. It's simply going through every 2.5 seconds. I'm looking for new content in the folder. So let's run the project. We're going to run automatically. And now I just let it do its bidding. So each time it finds a new file, it is going to start to render FFmpeg right here. And you will see the renderer happening. It looks like there was an error opening the file, probably permission issues. You can see, you can follow the trace here. And now I'm creating OS proxies, and I will keep the folder structure intact. Let's take another look now at the output folder before I hand it back over to Alex. Desktop. Okay. Now let's look at the output. User, my name, desktop, connector, watch folder. You will see. Yeah, that's the watch folder. So whatever I would have in the watch folder, it is going to replicate the folder. So we know exactly where things are. This was a quick overview of Connectr. We showed you also Axel, remote access by setting up those proxies. Some other folks would just use VPN. That's perfectly fine. This is a valid option. And we showed you Connectr. And with that, hand back over to Alex, and let's see if we have any questions. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Patrice. Hold on here. There we go. The Q&A slide, yes. So at this point, yeah, the question, are there any questions either about making editable proxies in Axel or using connectors? So now's the time to post any questions that you might have.
Yeah, actually, Alex, there's a question about the price here. What is the price of all these goodies that we just demonstrated?
So for Axel, the functionality is built into the product, which is sold on a per user basis with our Macintosh perpetual licenses starting at just under $3,000 US and $6,000 US for a 5-user. For Connectr, we sell the product also using a perpetual license model, but it's based on the number of workflows. So for 4 workflows on a Mac-based license, it's, I believe, $38.95. just under 4,000 US dollars. So in addition to this particular workflow, you could run three workflows, such as an automatic backup and archiving workflow might be one, an upload to Vimeo or YouTube one, or something like that. So again, and then along with that, we offer you a day of our services to get you up and running. So that's kind of the pricing structure for both Axle and Connectr.
A couple additions to that. One is we are not restricting the concurrent users. We are restricting the number of user profiles you can create. So if you want to have a group of users to send using the same login, this is a possibility. You will not know who did what because we don't have the possibility to track who edited the metadata of which file, or who downloaded of files, or the approval. All of that can be traced. So you will use that, but this is something you can definitely do, such as producers, marketing, editors, so you can do something along those lines as well. Other addition to that is there is the possibility to have also, we have a SaaS pricing model where you can pay a monthly fee to have Axel. Now, we personally prefer the perpetual license. It's something that we feel like if you buy, you own. But others prefer to have a monthly fee for, project that will be just a year or two. There is something that is also available. Other question: can Axel run in the cloud? That's a very good question. So we showed you the possibility to access via remote proxy the cloud, via remote proxy from the internet via to server. So we feel like it's better for you to have, it's better for you to keep your files on premise because the bandwidth is not really there for editing from the cloud. It will come. We have 5G coming, and people are just looking at faster and faster speed, especially not people are streaming Netflix at 4K or plus. So it is going to come. So the bandwidth is going to be there, but it is not quite there yet. So editing on cloud may not be practical. That being said, we have done a integration, a deployment on a Google Cloud platform. One thing to note is we do have a Mac version of Axel, as we have also a Linux VM. And this VM can be deployed on your PC or your Linux server, or it can potentially be deployed in the cloud. So this is something that we have done in the past. So it is doable. I would strongly recommend, just for now at least, for your editor's sake, to stick to on-premise.
Great. Thanks, Patrice.
Good thing. Can I lock in the files once they are being used? A very good question. Currently, no. This is something we don't really do in Axel. We are offering you a search engine, not really a project management. So yes, we do provide you the possibility to do in and out points, export to Premiere, or Final Cut Pro or Media Composer. There is all of that is possible, but it's really just a pointer to the high res. You find the clip, you bring it to your editor, and that's it. So we do not lock in the files. It's not something like Strawberry or other project management solutions that you would find. Now, there may be some clever ways we could potentially do that, with Connectr. So Connectr is a great tool to enhance the capabilities of Axel. Axel is radically simple. We keep it that way. We want to keep it that way. It's a turnkey solution to allow you to browse your folder structure on-site or remotely and find your media. Now, what you do with the media you have found, that's where Connectr will come in. Like we showed you deploying, uploading to different or copying. We showed you rendering. People will use the in and out points of Axel to start to render subclips and create new high-res media using Connectr. we have people who will use direct ingest and the correction within connector, quality control by integrating with others. One thing I did not show you is the possibility to integrate with third-party tools. We have the possibility to make scripting. You can code in Java, you can code in JavaScript, you can make REST API calls to other tools. So you can, for example, connect to monday.com and have all your project handled, such as this file has been downloaded. So now let's make it as being reviewed or something like that. So there is a lot of different things you can do with Connectr. So maybe we can find some clever way to lock the file in or do something like that. But excellent questions. Another question. You mentioned Avid. You have the support for Avid OP add-ons. This is something we are finishing up right now, and we are hoping to announce it very soon. We have said it for years, actually, that we wanted to do to have Avid support, and it is definitely coming. We have some beta sites currently using it, and we are finalizing the AAF export, where you will be able to bring in your media into Media Composer. So yeah, hoping to announce it soon. We have beta sites. If you are interested, feel free to reach out. We can definitely set that up for you. But yeah. So the current level of editor support that we have in Axel would be Premiere, Pro, Final Cut Pro 7 and 10, simply legacy code for 7. But we do not know anybody still using it. And Media Composer.
Great.
Excellent questions so far. Thank you.
All right then.
About the reverse proxying, is it a standard feature of Axel? The standard proxying, will I be able to install a trial and have remote access? So that's a very good question. Axel comes with all the web services and everything. So whether you install with Linux or Mac, you will have all these features available. But the reverse proxying is something we have to set up for you, unless you have another service yourself. But if you don't, we have to set that up for you. This is something we are happy to talk to you about if you want to set up a trial. And speaking of trial, we do have trials available, 14 days, 14 to 30-day demos that you can have for both Axel and Connectr. And what you will get with Axel is the transcription. We come with 1 hour of transcription that will be searchable. So feel free to reach out to us, set up the trial. We're happy to discuss about reverse proxying and getting you started in accessing your media files remotely.
Great. All right then. If there are no further questions, then we'd like to let you get on with the day. If you'd like to speak with any of us, it's pretty straightforward. It's just our first names: Neil at Axel.ai, Katie with a Y at Axel.ai, Patrice or Alex, yeah, just give us a shout, and we would be happy to continue the dialogue or get you set up with a trial or whatever's most appropriate for your needs. But we'd just like to thank you for spending some time with us and learning a little bit more about what we're doing, and hopefully you can see some value in these, what we're doing to help enable remote workflows in this rather challenging time. And with that, we will say thank you and goodbye.
Thank you very much, guys.